These things need to be said.
Department policy says he's not supposed to be in front of this camera.
These stories need to come out.
Frustrations bubbling over after more than 15 years responding to calls and trying to save lives.
When you actually see people dying in your hands, it weighs on you heavier, which is why I'm happy to be here and have this conversation.
With his image in silhouette and his voice digitized, this veteran firefighter agreed to talk after learning Denver 7 Investigates has obtained these emails from other Denver firefighters.
The emails are saying what we all know, is that there has been a long-time problem with how long it takes an ambulance to arrive on scene.
Internal communications written by Denver firefighters and obtained by Denver 7 confirm those concerns. From October of last year, we waited 25 minutes for an ambulance. A trend of waiting longer and longer for ambulances is concerning. From September of last year, we waited for 30 minutes, and this issue has been getting worse over the past 2 months. From May of last year, an auto accident. The patient was unconscious at the time. I was also told Denver Health had no ambulances available. What do these emails say?
They speak volumes. I get the frustrations. I agree with the frustrations because I've been on those calls too.
Prior to this interview, the chief of Denver's fire department reviewed the emails and watched Denver 7 investigations from last year.
They're not in it for what's right for the patient.
It needs to be investigated.
The culture needs to change.
Investigations where veteran paramedics questioned the culture and priorities inside Denver Health. Based on our reporting, would you say we identified a problem?
I would say based on your report, you identified numerous problems.
Engine 3, respond to an assault at 2323 Curtis Street.
And there are also questions about this call from last November. The email says the call was for a head injury resulting from domestic violence. In this official correspondence, a Denver firefighter writes, the patient wanted to go to the hospital. Several ambulances were diverted. According to the firefighter, a paramedic who arrived in an SUV, not an ambulance, advised the patient that she would probably get to the hospital faster if she walked, because St. Joseph's Hospital is 4 blocks away. Help me understand, is there any plausible reason to tell a person to walk 4 or 14 blocks to a hospital?
There would never be a plausible reason to tell any person to walk 14 blocks to a hospital.
We wanted to understand what that trained paramedic was asking of the woman who reportedly called for help, had a head injury, and wanted an ambulance. So we're going to walk that distance, starting from here at 23rd and Curtis. We've now walked about a half mile in 8 minutes.
Walk.
Remember, the paramedic reportedly said it was only 4 blocks. Reality, it was more than a mile, about 14 blocks, a trip that took us more than 21 minutes. What's your analysis of that call?
I think the system worked perfectly.
The chief paramedic for Denver Health said after reviewing reports on that call, but never talking to the paramedic, he concluded his team did nothing wrong. So you didn't talk to the paramedic, but you've concluded that they did the right thing.
I believe in our people and I trust them.
Are you saying what this firefighter put in the email is not the truth?
I'm saying I don't believe they had the entire story.
Which leads us to the entire story on response times by Denver Health ambulances. How common are delayed, extremely delayed response times from Denver Health?
It feels regular. And again, the problem is I don't have the data, we don't have the information to know how often it actually happens. But talk to any firefighter, talk to any paramedic. They know it happens all the time.
We asked Denver Health to provide a database of all ambulance response times during the past 6 months. Citing protections provided by state lawmakers, the hospital declined our request. Does this need to be fixed?
Absolutely needs to be fixed.
Has our reporting provided you leverage to potentially find a solution here?
I hope so.
What's the problem?
We played those testimonials for Denver Health's chief paramedic. Reaction to what you heard there?
I hear frustration and I see opportunity for us all to do better as a EMS safety team.
Although Denver Health elected to not release data showing response times, the hospital did admit in this interview firefighters were correct, and for only the second time in 22 years, ambulances last year failed to meet the standard of arriving on scene in less than 9 minutes, 90% of the time.
These emails, those testimonials raise a question about your paramedic division. How do you respond to that?
We will do better.
Do we have calls for service that come in and the unit is not assigned because the unit's not available yet?
Denver city leaders
make sure that we have better response times.
Asking tough questions.
There has been some concern about response times.
Placing Denver Health on the hot seat. Critical questions about paramedic response times and a secret culture pressuring paramedics to bypass other level 1 trauma centers and returning critically injured patients only to Denver Health.
We're not perfect. We have opportunities to improve.
That has been a consistent talking point from leaders at Denver Health.
We know we have challenges. We want to do better. We will do better.
But ultimately, the question remains, will Denver Health make changes? A question shared exclusively with Denver 7 by several paramedics and Denver firefighters.
What are these emails saying?
The emails are saying what we all know, is that there has been a long-time problem with how long it takes an ambulance to arrive on scene.
In recent months, Denver 7 has uncovered a paper trail of problems supported by passionate testimonials from emergency responders demanding accountability.
Were you ever questioned about a decision to bring a level 1 trauma patient to the closest hospital instead of Denver Health?
Yes, by my superiors and the medical direction team.
Do you think Denver Health believes that they can't be stopped?
Yes. I do. They play by their own rules.
Those testimonials and the stacks of emails included in our reports were the foundation for questions by members of Denver City Council.
I wasn't surprised that the wait times are as long, and there seems to be some conflict between the paramedics and the Denver Fire Department, and it's a shame.
If you had not been reporting on this, I'm not so sure we'd have all these people in the room today, so thank you.
Which led us to the question, will Denver Health make changes?
Dr. McVaney, Mr. Wiskevich, are you available for?
A question we had for Medical Director Kevin McVaney and the hospital's chief paramedic.
We've reported some critical things. Why are you walking away from our questions? We just want to hear your perspective. Are you going to change anything? Sounds like the answer's no.